Hey there, I'm Leah. I'm a life and relationship coach and the founder of Life Remade, and I help people to move through life transitions like divorce, breakups, maybe even career changes, retirement, getting into college, you name it, whatever transition it is. I work with people through this. And what I found is that most of the time, the key to sort of letting yourself move forward is in letting go of the past versions of you that sort of like kept you feeling safe, that kept you feeling stuck. And so we're going to talk all about that today. I have a couple notes on my computer screen that I'm going to reference, but this is just going to kind of be a little more off the cuff. I am a new mom, and identity is something that I found myself recently grappling with, um, and really trying to figure out, how do I become this new version of myself in a way that still doesn't allow me to lose who I am. And even just those questions are phrased very interestingly to me, because I think that a lot of times we ask ourselves, how do I not lose myself? How do I not lose myself? And it becomes this like fear of moving forward, um, that doesn't need to be there. And I think if we asked ourselves a different question, like, how do I let go of the parts of me that don't serve this next chapter? That can be way more empowering. It can be way more informative, and it can almost be like a exploration of how we've evolved. Who are we now? What is this new identity? What needs to shift? How can I refine the way that I show up in the world that will align and fit with my new values and my new vision and the new person that I'm allowed to become? And I think that that's where this like trap of identity lies, is in this just sort of over identifying with pieces of ourselves. I know at some point that I'm going to become something new again. And I'm also aware that becoming a mother is not my full identity. So I see identity more as this evolution that I can keep adding to and subtracting from as I see fit. It's within my power to do that. And I give myself permission to do that, to have it be constantly shifting and changing. So don't get too stuck in having your identity be, solidified in one thing or one area or one aspect of who you are. You can be multifaceted. In fact, I take pride in that. Why holding on keeps you stuck? I think holding on to these past versions of ourselves can create this like tug of war between the past and where we want to go. And there can be a sense of grief that I've heard a lot of people express as, I miss that old version of who I was, and I just want to be who I used to be. And I'm not just talking about motherhood, I'm talking about just in general. And I think that when we become overly attached to these things and we hold on too tightly, we can stay stuck, and it can inhibit our forward movement. And so what we need to do is release the grip on these versions of ourselves, on these past identities that served us but are no longer needed. I'm no longer the college student. I'm no longer the single person. I'm no longer the divorcee. I have to let go of every version of myself when the time comes, when the evolution presents itself, or else I would still be stuck holding on, living in the past. And so that's how these identities can keep us stuck if we hold on too tightly. Just loosening the grip bit by bit. Some signs that you still might be over identifying with the past are, here's some questions that you can ask yourself. Do I make decisions based on who I used to be or who I'm becoming? And that is a big one because many of us still make decisions based on who we used to be. Am I still filtering my worth through someone else's version of me? So for me, this is something that showed up in my past that I have to be vigilant about and really checking myself. Is this mine? Is this decision, within my sense of value and worth? Or is it based on needing to prove myself to someone else or even a past version of me? Do I downplay who I am now because I'm afraid others won't recognize me? Change is hard and scary and often creates disconnect in relationships if the other person isn't going to grow with us. And we can lose people in our lives when we do evolve and change, and that's natural and normal. But to downplay the evolution of who we are and where we're going in order to hold on to these old relationships is a disservice to them and you because it's not authentic. Lastly, do I feel guilt or grief when I let go of roles or patterns that once defined me? I think it's okay to feel grief or guilt if it shows up ever. But if this is something that is showing up for you, ask some deeper questions. Why am I so having such a hard time letting go of the past? Am I over identifying with that version of me? Can I embrace this new version in a way that feels exciting and in a way that takes ownership of my growth? Here is a practice to sort of keep yourself in the present, starting with naming. So there's like 5 steps. Naming the old identity, the old role, the old pattern, the old self. Who was she? Like I said, the college student version of me, the single version of me, the person that was going through a divorce version of me. Those are all different versions, right? So name the version of you. Next, release it. I am no longer that version of me. I do not identify with that version of me anymore. And then third, reclaiming who you are now, which is asking yourself, what does the present version of me value? What am I allowed to want now? What am I permitting myself to become? And these can be really powerful questions that I would be curious what the answers you get for yourself are. So feel free to comment below. And then finally, I think ultimately this is about giving yourself permission to grow, giving yourself permission to evolve and to shed who you no longer are. If we're doing it right, are always evolving. And I think a true sign of self-mastery is someone who can shift and shape and bend and mold into different versions of who they need to become and be adaptable, not in a way that is, not based on their own values and is not in a way that is bending for everyone else's needs, but in a way that is malleable to their own desires and the human nature of change. I think change is very human. Life requires us to constantly be changing. And so to be able to embrace that fully means we have to be flexible. We have to evolve. We have to bend. We have to adapt. I hope that you found this useful. Um, Again, it's something that I have thought a lot about in my own life recently and that I have become pretty passionate about. So, adding this to my little toolbox of coaching tools now 9 years after starting my business. And I think that, you know, if there's anything that I can offer you, um, it is to coach you from a space of, being right beside you in this and not preaching at you, not talking at you, but just kind of sharing my own perspective, the wisdom that I've gained from that experience, and how I will continue to move forward. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.